Welcome, TV Herstoryans. You know, a few weeks ago, I had the honor of interviewing Elva Green, a woman who started writing books in what some marketers would call our golden years. I say, when you're looking to tell a story or research TV herstory, age has absolutely no bearing. So, Elva Green comes to Advanced TV Herstory to discuss her book on the TV series from the 70s, The Jeffersons, and she winds up sharing so much more. This one's a fun one. We're going to cut right to the chase, and I want to interview for you Elva Green, who is the author of The Jeffersons, a fresh look back featuring episodic insights, interviews, a peek behind the scenes, and photos. Elva Green, we're happy to have you here on Advanced TV Herstory. Welcome.
Thank you, Cynthia. I'm very, very happy to be here.
Well, we are thrilled to have you. Advanced TV Herstory has had lots of authors on over the years, some who focus simply on TV series such as yourself, others who approach themes like we recently did the whole theme on special episodes, those episodes that sort of delivered a moral or a social concern. We've also gone back and spoken with academics who examine TV and gender and race. But Elva Green's book kind of popped in my Twitter feed not that long ago. And I thought, wow, okay, I've never seen anybody take on the Jeffersons. And so here we are with Elva in our virtual studio. And we are going to find out a little bit about how Elva got to writing this book. And then we're going to dig into these incredible female characters that popped out of the minds and the imaginations of Norman Lear's Tandem Productions team. Elva, let's jump in and tell me a little bit about yourself and how you came to write this book.
When I started writing, I had already been a secretary for 30 years. I had no intention of becoming a writer until I had a grandson who had learning difficulties. His name is Edward. Edward would always tell me when he was doing his homework, he'd say, I can't do this. I can't, Grandma. I wanted to help him. And, I couldn't think of any way that I could help him with his issues, his learning ability issues. But I could give him some inspiration. And I thought, my father, Eddie Green, who was born Edward, just like my grandson, he started out in the slums of Baltimore, Maryland, where he was born in 1891. And by 1950, when he died, he had become famous. For a Black born in 1891, it takes a lot to become famous. And Eddie did it through grit and determination and talent and hard work. He did it. And so I decided that I'd write a book about my father. Eddie Green, the rise of an early 1900s Black American entertainment pioneer. Eddie was a Black man, and he accomplished everything he wanted to accomplish, despite the situation for Blacks in those days. I said, so, if he could do it, Edward, you can do whatever it is you want to do. So I started writing the book for my grandson, but as I went through the process, I realized that the book would actually help other people to realize that they could do whatever they wanted to do, as long as they had the persistence and the determination and went out and did it despite obstacles.
So developing this book for your grandson and also just to preserve your family history and then start to realize it's truly an inspiration to more than just your family.
Exactly. Because I got so much information researching my father, I wound up researching other Blacks who had come along that way and who had become successful. So I realized that if I was going to write a book, I needed a platform so that people would know who I am when the book came out. I figured out how to do that. I bought my first laptop in 2014. I got the idea in 1996. The book published in 2016. I put the book online and I asked people that I had come to know to help me proofread the book. And a publisher contacted me, and that was Ben Omart from Bear Manor Media. He asked me if I needed a publisher. And I had actually gone online and tried to find out how to get a publisher and how to do a query letter. And when he's contacted me, I was blown away. And of course I said, sure, yes, I do. I need a publisher. Ben liked my book so much. He asked me to do a book on the Jeffersons. I said yes. I was still thinking, well, I'm not a writer. I just wrote one book. I only just wanted to write this one book for my grandson about my father. I don't know if I want to do another one, but I made money. I got paid to write the next book.
It's always interesting to hear how people who are not in academia, who just sort of decide to write a book, particularly one that requires digging around. I'm sure the stories and the information about your father, you still had to kind of scour and find people and hear stories. So,
oh my God,
that's a great one.
Yeah.
So, yes. Bear Manor Media is the publisher then of your first book, and now this one, The Jeffersons: A Fresh Look Back.
Yes.
And listeners, you can find both books by Elva Green at Bear Manor Media. You can get them as real live books or as digital books. And is there an audio book available?
Not yet.
Okay. All right. So you can get them at least for your iPad or get the real book, Bear Manor Media. Go directly there. And that's where my guess is that that's where Elva receives the greatest royalty, and you kind of eliminate the fees that go then to people who broker them out. However, I believe Barnes and Noble will distribute a hard copy to you as well. So
yes,
that's important to know.
Yes.
And listeners, we are not going to divulge too much about the book, because that's what partly we're here for, is for all of Elva's work to be rewarded by you buying this book. But we are going to hear a little bit more behind the scenes, because that's what we like to do here, is share what it took to get that book published and what she learned along the way. And I will also just plug the fact that back a couple of years ago, pre-pandemic, I was in Indianapolis and did a PodFest. And it was kind of a convention of podcasters, and we did a live recording of Norman Lear's Lady Bench. Some other podcasters and I took a good look at all of those women who were more or less supporting role characters in in many of the Tandem Productions, Norman Lear Productions, but particularly the women of color, and the incredible, incredible resumes they had by the time they got to Hollywood. So that's what we're focusing on here today. We're going a little deeper on the Jeffersons. All right, Elva, I was very impressed by just how many people you actually spoke with to write this book and the facts that came up. What were some of the highlights of those interviews?
I have to say that during the first book helped immensely. I learned that, the more I looked, the further I went, the more I found. When I would think that there was nothing else to be had, I would find something else. So I learned how to be persistent. I used that in getting in touch with people, cast members, crew members. Because the one thing I learned is most of the people that I interviewed were so happy to tell me all about their time with the Jeffersons. Evidently, it was a great show to work on. Everybody got along. I wanted to interview not just the principal characters, but I wanted to interview guests and the people who worked behind the scenes.
And you were sort of limited because many of those main characters had passed away, Isabel Sanford in 2004 and Roxy Roker in 95.
Exactly.
Marla Gibbs still being alive, bless her heart. And she's still so much in the mix, and she just recently had her Walk of Fame Hollywood star put in. Yeah. And Zara Culley, who actually passed in the middle of the series. And we'll talk a little bit more about Mother Jefferson. So the other interviews?
I actually spoke with Norman Lear. I got in touch with Mr. Lear through his assistant at the time. She was so nice. These people, they just blew me away that they were even ready to talk with me. She gave me 20 minutes of Norman Lear's time. I spoke with him over the phone, and he gave me just about 20 minutes. You know, he told me what he thought about Mother Jefferson. Speaking of Zara Cully, he says she was as funny as any human being without saying a word.
I've got something to say. You didn't tell him, did you?
Oh, you know me, Mother Jefferson.
Yeah, that's why I asked. Well, George, about 2 weeks ago, I met the nicest man named Herbert Russell.
Hey, that's cool, Ma.
Mm-hmm. And we've been seeing a lot of each other. We've gone to church, we played bingo, and we even took a ride on the Staten Island ferry.
Oh, that's great. I always said you was a fox.
We had so much fun together.
He didn't try to get fresh with you. Just kidding.
Oh, he's a perfect gentleman. And he's asked me to marry him.
Say what? And George, Herbert wants your mother to move to Florida with him. Isn't that great? No, it ain't. What do you really know about this guy anyway?
Well, he has a wonderful sense of humor.
So does Rodney Allen Rippey. I wouldn't want you to marry him.
So he gave me some information on how he felt about the different stars. He said Marla Gibbs, to him, was the greatest actress during the time of his career. So that interview lasted about 20 minutes. And then he said, well, thank you, Elva. It's been nice talking to you. He's just too busy. You know, if you get any of his time today, it has to be something really, really special.
Well, great that even at his late age, he was able to give you 20 minutes and you asked all the right questions and got some great quotes.
Yes. You know, I had to ask him about the fact that he was a white man producing an almost all black sitcom and how he decided he could do that. He told me that being Jewish showed him, it made him more in tune with people who were always having some kind of, you know, issues with society. He could identify, you know, that's how he felt about what he was doing.
It sounds like you did some emailing questions. You did some telephone interviews. Really ran the gamut of folks who were both interested in sharing their experience with you and also supportive and making connections on your behalf.
Well, Berlinda Tolbert actually invited me to her hotel. She just happened to be in town. She played Jenny, Lionel's girlfriend.
And Jenny was the Willis's daughter, right? She was
the daughter of Helen Willis and Tom Willis.
Yes.
The white man. We had lunch on the terrace and I spent like a couple of hours with her. She was an extremely nice person and she gave me a lot of information and a lot of names to contact.
Jenny, you know, it seemed like every time I wanted to be with you, you were with the baby.
Jessica needs me.
And well, so do I.
Lionel, you're not jealous of Jessica, are you?
Oh, no.
Lionel.
Well, yeah, I guess I am.
You are?
Look, okay, I'm sorry. I'm ashamed, but I am, okay?
Oh, Lionel. Oh, Lionel, I guess I never thought about that.
Oh, look, it's not your fault. I mean, it's nobody's fault. We just need time to be together.
I'd like that. Now, what are we going to do?
Well, I mean, at least we're talking about it. That's a start.
In the book, Elva has brought forth biographical information, not just about the performers and their resumes prior to getting to the Jeffersons, but then also what they did following through. And obviously anyone who is yet still alive, she was able to bring that information and make it more current. And there are still some who are very active in their own careers.
Yes. One of them is Ernest Harden Jr. Ernest was in about 4 episodes, I believe, of the Jeffersons. He was George Jefferson's helper in the Cleaners. And I got in touch with him through Facebook. Ernest actually showed up at my first book signing. He surprised me and told me that Marla Gibbs would have come, but she was ill that day because, I also got in touch with Marla Gibbs. Marla was the one person that I spoke to most often. My publisher, Ben, wanted to write a book on the Jeffersons years ago. One of the gentlemen who was going to write the book, who is no longer with us, knew and wrote for the Jeffersons. So he had notes. Ben got his notes, and I eventually got this gentleman's notes 20 years later. And he had Marla Gibbs' phone number. I put off calling her because, I just couldn't imagine talking to Marla Gibbs. I was afraid. And finally, one day, I finally called the number. Marla answered the phone. She still had the same landline phone number. I was blown away at first when she answered the phone because I thought she was going to have, a maid. She spoke with me, she asked me why I was calling, hi, I'm Elva Green. She said, yes. And, what is it you want? And I explained it to her. We were looking for a foreword or an interview at the time. And I reminded her, about long ago and the people that she used to know and who had since passed. And Marla told me that she would not work with me unless she was able to read the book first. She said she wasn't going to put her name on something that she didn't like. Over time, it took about 4 years until she finally said, okay, I'll do a foreword. By then, we had a relationship. She would call me and that would blow me away.
She is a national treasure without question. And,
oh my goodness.
And I think the fact that she waited that long to give you her foreword, maybe that was her honoring her longevity and the past memories and reputation of Isabel and Roxy and
thank you,
Sherman and everyone. So bless her heart for kind of being the standard bearer on that. And to have gotten her and Norman Lear says a lot about persistence in your tenacity.
Yes.
Y'all want me to fix lunch now?
We're still talking, dear.
Can't you talk over lunch? I'm hungry.
Not yet, Lawrence.
Well, talk faster, will you?
See? She's bossy. I thought that was very good. There's nothing wrong with her wanting to fix lunch. And when I said no, she obeyed my order right away.
How about if I start without y'all? My stomach's so empty, it's beginning to echo.
Will you get back in the kitchen?
I'm getting...
My thanks to Elva Green for the interview and to Mary Lou Morose for stitching together clips for a truly seamless story in these 2 episodes. Our music is Take Me Higher by Jazzer and is found at freemusicarchive.org. Head over to tvherstory.com for more about the podcast, our social media handles, and sign up for our monthly e-newsletter. And do not worry, your email will never be sold or shared. Stay tuned, folks, because our conversation about the Jeffersons and the women characters continues. I hope you're finding Elva as inspirational as I am. My goodness, There are women all around us taking on new challenges and interests with the skills they honed earlier in life. Be that woman, or plan to be that woman. Celebrate such a person if she's in your life. It's all too easy to call it quits and say we're invisible and that we have nothing left to contribute. To all those who are repurposing themselves, perhaps to get closer to what makes their heart hum, your heart hum, you are Why I Podcast. I'm your host, Cynthia Bemis Abrams.